Gandalf, played by Ian McKellen. Then, 62. Now, 87. Aragorn, played by Viggo Mortensen. Then, 43. Now, 67. Legolas, played by Orlando Bloom. Then, 24. Now, 49. Galadriel, played by Cate Blanchett. Then, 32. Now, 57. Frodo Baggins, played by Elijah Wood. Then, 20. Now, 45. Saruman, played by Christopher Lee. Then, 79. Passed away in 2015 at age 93. Gollum, Smeagol, played by Andy Serkis. Then, 37. Now, 62. Theoden, played by Bernard Hill. Then, 57. Passed away in 2024 at age 79. Boromir, played by Sean Bean. Then, 42. Now, 67. Samwise Gamgee, played by Sean Astin. Then, 30. Now, 55. Gimli, played by John Rhys Davis. Then, 57. Now, 82. Eowyn, played by Miranda Otto. Then, 34. Now, 59. Elrond, played by Hugo Weaving. Then, 41. Now, 66. Bilbo Baggins, played by Ian Holm. Then, 70. Passed away in 2020 at age 88. Peregrine Pippin Took, played by Billy Boyd. Then, 33. Now, 58. Meriadoc Mary Brandybuck, played by Dominic Monaghan. Then, 24. Now, 49. Faramir, played by David Wenham. Then, 36. Now, 61. Eomer, played by Carl Urban. Then, 29. Now, 54. Denethor, played by John Noble. Then, 53. Now, 78. Grima Wormtongue, played by Brad Dourif. Then, 51. Now, 76. Sauron, played by Sala Baker. Then, 25. Now, 50. Halder, played by Craig Parker. Then, 31. Now, 56. Celeborn, played by Martin Chokas. Then, 35. Now, 60. Lurtz, played by Lawrence Makaware. Then, 34. Now, 59. Rosie Cotton, played by Sarah McLeod. Then, 24. Now, 49. Isildur, played by Harry Sinclair. Then, 33. Now, 58. Arwen, played by Liv Tyler. Then, 24. Now, 48. King of the Dead, played by Paul Norell. Then, 42. Now, 67. Snaga, played by Jed Brophy. Then, 38. Now, 63.